Like to welcome everyone to the June County Commission meeting. Want to remind everybody we've got a great crowd and glad to see everybody here. But want to remind everybody this is a legislative body, so we ask you to be respectful. Also, if you'll silence all cell phones, beepers, and things like that, we would appreciate it. First thing on the agenda, Commissioner Brockman will give the invocation, and Commissioner Chalifant lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, as we gather here tonight, help guide our hearts and minds in the spirit of fairness, honest dialogue, and goodwill. Help us all to see and appreciate the many blessings bestowed upon this splendid community, the place we all call home. Protect our men and women placed in harm's way on behalf of our many freedoms, and provide strength and inspiration to their families. May we always be mindful of your teachings of kindness and compassion. Open our eyes to your extraordinary gifts as they shine forth in our ordinary day-to-day world, blessing us all, creatures great and small. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Deputy Schwartz, Deputy Jones, another Deputy Schwartz, and Sheriff Jeff Long for being here. We appreciate y'all. Next item on the agenda is roll call. If you push your present button. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 present.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the County Commission minutes that were mailed to each member. Entertain a motion. Commissioner Chalifant. Second, Commissioner Hayes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? They pass unanimously. Next item, introduction and acceptance of Highway Commission minutes. And each one of those were mailed to you. Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Cook, the second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And they pass unanimously. Next item we have is citizens communication. Okay. We've got 9 citizens wanting to speak. Our rules call for 15 minutes total, and so if it's all right with these 9, we'll divide that up. Roughly be a minute and a half, 2 minutes a person. So we'll keep time, and again, I ask you to be respectful. And first one up is Wright Pinson. If you will come up and state your name and your address for the record.
I'm Wright Pinson. I'm a Deputy Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. My home address is 408 Charles Gate Court, Davidson County. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to represent Vanderbilt University Medical Center with the following comments. We enjoy a positive and highly collaborative partnership with Williamson Medical Center. This is an association of ever-increasing trust and friendship, such that now almost 1/4 of the admissions to Williamson Medical Center are by Vanderbilt-employed physicians inside the county. We place significant value in our relationship with Williamson Medical Center and envision deepening this affiliation as we work towards even closer relationships with the hospital leadership and, importantly, with the medical staff to expand inpatient and outpatient services for children and adults through an array of clinical specialties. This partnership will allow Williamson Medical Center to expand the scope of high-quality health care services available to the residents of the county inside the county. Our commitment is substantial. Currently, 244 Vanderbilt physicians and nurse practitioners, combined support staff to comprise a total Vanderbilt workforce of nearly 700 employees working inside the county. This year, we will experience more than 400,000 patient visits occurring at our 16 outpatient clinics and surgical facilities inside the county. These facilities not only provide high-quality health care for the county residents, but also provide jobs and generate other sources of revenue inside the county. As you know from prior news articles, we are planning to build a major outpatient facility on land recently purchased near Williamson Medical Center.
Mr. Pinson, if you could, I'd give you 30 seconds to wrap it up.
This campus will give us the opportunity to further expand jointly supported clinical services, including pediatrics, orthopedics, urgent care, neurology, rehabilitation, outpatient surgery, and imaging inside the county, all of which will support Williamson Medical Center's mission. While Vanderbilt places significant value on its association with the citizens of Williamson County, changes in the status of Williamson Medical Center, potentially altering the hospital's independence to partner and to continue its rich tradition for providing high-quality health care, could alter our plans. Our physicians serve throughout the county. We have great trust in Williamson Medical Center. Day in and day out, we send patients to Williamson Medical Center and know without a doubt they will receive the same high-quality, high-caliber care inside the county that they would at our facilities in Nashville. We appreciate this great partnership. We appreciate the governance structure that exists. And I would conclude that as a physician and healthcare administrator with more than 30 years of experience, I know that there are great days, indeed decades ahead for this hospital. The governance should stay the same as it is inside the county. I encourage you to keep Williamson Medical Center as an independent, community-focused hospital for the benefit of future generations of the citizens of this county. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next citizen we have is Craig Farrell. If you'll come up and state your name and your address, please.
I'm Dr. Craig Farrell. I live at 1100 Montpier Drive, Franklin, and Mary is my county commissioner. Nice to see you in attendance. I'll be brief because I don't have much time. 3 things I'd like you to think about. Williamson Medical Center is unique. We have a Vanderbilt presence, but we have physicians from St. Thomas, physicians from Baptist Hospital. We have independent physicians. And just like county commissioners are not all alike, hospitals aren't all alike. They're not cookie cutter. So Williamson's a unique facility, and it's grown dramatically since I started here as the orthopedic surgeon in this building, not in this particular space, in 1979. Second, so it's unique. It has a vision. The vision is to partner with other facilities that have expertise. For example, in children's, it makes sense to partner with Vanderbilt to expand pediatric facilities in Williamson County, to pick major facilities that can offer things to our hospital and partner with them on those projects. That's the vision. And lastly, there's a legacy here. When I was thinking about what to say tonight to you, and I'm going to wrap it up with this, I think that you need to think about a longer-term perspective. I know you have difficult decisions on funding and financing and where do we get the money for this, that, and the other. But this county was founded in 1799, and in 1957, they started the hospital board. And look at the asset that has been built with the vision of those county commissioners in 1957. And I think, to me, you have a legacy as a county commissioner, and you need to look long term. And I think your legacy should be to build assets for this county, not to deplete them. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. Next citizen, Starling Evans.
My name is Starling Evans. I'm Chief of Staff at Williamson Medical Center, and I've been practicing medicine in Franklin for 32 years. And I'm here to speak in opposition to doing anything about changing the situation with the hospital. Now, when an issue like this comes up, I always try to put myself in the shoes of the other people, the people on the other side, the people that want to sell the hospital. And as I was thinking about that, I could come up with 3 motives that might be motivating people to want to sell the hospital. One was political idealism, another was profit, and the third would be to cover the shortfall on the projected budget for the county that's coming up. Although that's such a short-sighted reason that I don't give it much credence. So I'm going to talk quickly about the political idealism and the profit motive. The idealism I understand perfectly. I'm a conservative myself, and I prefer that anything that can be done in private industry should be done in private industry. But I also think that there are exceptions to that. And I think the hospital industry has several exceptions, and that Williamson Medical Center is a major exception. Williamson Medical Center is owned by the county, but it is not run by the county. It is run by a competent board and professional administrators, many of whom have worked in the private sector and prefer to be here in the not-for-profit sector. In 1957, all the overage money, and ever since then, the overage money being basically the profit, has been poured back into the hospital to buy equipment, to build structures, and to provide high-quality nursing care. And that's what a hospital is all about. If the hospital was a for-profit hospital, a lot of that would not have happened, and we wouldn't have the high-tech, high-quality medical care that we have today in Williamson County. So I don't want to see it change. I want to see it continue just the way it is, and hopefully I'm within my time limit.
Thank
I
you.
had a lot more to say, but I won't say it.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. Next citizen. Next citizen is Ruth Wingate.
My name is Ruth Wingate. I live at 1013 Moreland Boulevard, Brentwood, Tennessee. And I'm on the opposite side of this as a taxpayer. We owe $500 million, and every time they need more money, they turn to us. We are not a stash. We are taxpayers, and we work hard. This is a perfect opportunity with a hot commodity that will sell on this market. Many bidders would love to have this, and we could make the kind of money that we need to help pay back what we owe. On top of that, a $1.7 million bond every year that's on this. I just can't understand the rationale on the other side to not sell the hospital and help the taxpayer instead of burdening us again. But it's emotional. It has to be emotional. This is Williamson County's hospital. It belongs to us. We can take care of our own better than anybody else, is what they say. But we know that there's a federal mandate that says that anybody that shows up at a hospital and needs help, they will be helped. So that argument does not wash. We also know that the federal government doesn't need to be in business, and this government doesn't need to be in business. Every time something goes wrong, like it did with GM, they turn to the taxpayers to make up the difference. We are taxed beyond belief. The government owes trillions. We owe $500 million. Here's an opportunity to sell the hospital, and it will do just wonderful under everybody else's care on the free market system. And I wish that you would reconsider, please, and sell the hospital. Take care of the taxpayers for a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next citizen is Tiffany Borgelt. Sorry about that. What was it? Good.
Tiffany Borgelt, 1228 Kelly Court here in Franklin. Thomas Jefferson once wrote that we must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt, and this is why I'm here tonight. Quite frankly, I haven't made a decision as to whether or not I support the sale of the hospital, but I do think that it is an option that needs to be explored. What is of great concern to me, however, is my understanding that half of the commissioners who sponsored a resolution to block the sale of the hospital are either directly affiliated or have family directly affiliated with the hospital. 3 commissioners sit on the Board of Trustees. One's brother is the chairman of the Board of Trustees. 1 commissioner sits on the hospital's Board of Directors. 1 commissioner is the executive director of the Hospital Foundation, and 1 commissioner's father served on the hospital board until this last year. On top of this, to read in this morning's paper an accusation leveled at Commissioner Barnwell because he cites an attorney on retainer to HCA as interpreting the 2006 state law to allow funds from the sale to pay down the debt, while ignoring that the counter opinion that was given by County Attorney Jeff Mosley, who just happens to be a lawyer for Williamson Medical Center, seems a little disingenuous to me. I can't help but feel that some of our commissioners are acting more in their own self-interest than in the interest of the community by using the power voters gave them to circumvent the very exploration of the matter, and instead are voting on passing the debt on to us with an 11% increase in our county property tax. So what happens next year when the school board and the school doesn't have a surplus from which to pull $7 million? If the commission and the school board continue to propose and approve budgets that go beyond what we can afford, there's no doubt we'll be looking at another form of tax in the future. We have only to look at history to see that this has been the pattern, and that's what concerns me. I know you guys are in a tough position, and I appreciate the time that you put into our city, our county. I'm on the board of our homeowners association and have been for the last 5 years. We're often presented with budgets and bylaws in which confines we need to handle the needs of our community. We get suggestions from homeowners who don't always know the details, and sometimes we're misunderstood. But I expect from you all what I expect from myself and my fellow board members, and that's honesty. If you have a vested interest, then recuse yourself, or at least let it be known publicly, and not just at the meeting because it's required. My personal experience with the hospital as an almost 20-year resident of Williamson County has not been particularly exemplary. On more than one occasion, I've been told if you have an emergency and can wait 20 minutes, then drive to Nashville. I was even told this by a nurse who's also a lifelong resident of Williamson County. In fact, this was reiterated to me again just last week at the gym by someone who had just moved to town, who had been told the same thing. Now, I don't think this merits selling the hospital, but I also don't believe that Williamson County Medical is such a mainstay in the community as to not consider what is best for the county as a whole. These are tough times. It requires tough decisions, and I, for one, pray that our commissioners have the strength and courage to do the right thing. I moved from California to Tennessee 20 years ago, and I'm starting to see some of the same things happen here that happened there. We're not that different from the rest of the country. If we continue to approve budgets that are larger than we can afford and think that more taxes is a solution, we too will be at bankruptcy's doorstep, as is California. Albert Einstein once said, insanity is doing the same thing again, and expecting different results. Please, let's be different for Williamson County's sake.
Thank you. Next citizen, Russell Little.
My name's Russell Little, 304 Juliana Circle in Franklin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to declare a conflict of interest. I am chairman of the board of Williamson Medical Center, and I have a brother that sits on this commission, and he's in charge with using his own brain to figure this out, not mine. You've got, money can do two things. You can only do two things with money. You can spend it, or you can put it to work. That's what we've got opposing resolutions tonight, and that's essentially, if you want to boil them down to two things, is you've got a pile of cash sitting out on I-65 that can be converted, and you can spend it, or you can leave it where it is and have it still being put to work for the Williamson County citizens. Williamson Medical Center stands unique among all the other county assets in that no county taxpayer money is being used for operations of Williamson Medical Center. Almost all of you were here about 2.5 weeks ago when 3 committees met, and there were just some outstanding comments made on behalf of Williamson Medical Center. I'm not going to go over those. Thank you very much for your support of Williamson Medical Center. I spent a number of time with commissioners both for and against this resolution. It's tough place to sit. You've got quite a conundrum to where you are. However, Williamson Medical Center is being painted out here as this juicy, ripe peach, ready for the picking and eating. And what I want you to remain with you tonight is that instead of the peach, Williamson Medical Center is the tree that can flourish and provide much more fruit for the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Next citizen is Craig Morrow.
Chairman. I was going to say Mr. Mayor, but I don't see him sitting around here anywhere. And I must do say, address all my fellow commissioners. The reason I say that, for 18 years ago, I was sitting right there where Mr. Commissioner Baines is sitting. And two of my accomplishments, I think, was vote for the Williamson County Hospital. We built it out there. And the other, I think, the thing I've done was somewhat good, was I nominated Commissioner Chalifant to be a commissioner. And I understand he's survived 25 years so far. And I understand that y'all don't want to get rid of him right now. The reason I'm here is because, as I said, I was one of the ones who I think helped build this hospital. I'm here to support it, to keep it, and not sell it, because when these big conglomerates buys these hospitals, the quality of service goes down. The bottom line is they want to make money. That's what they're interested in. And I urge you very much to consider keeping the hospital, because it's been here for a long, long time. And I hope a long, long more time. And I do enjoy presenting this and looking at the faces of some of you new commissioners whom I only see on TV. When it comes up, that's who I represent here. But Commissioner Hayes, Commissioner Hancock, Baines, and Chalifant, and Commissioner Ernie have been long lost last friends, and I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next citizen is Jennifer Luteran.
My name is Jennifer Luteran. I live at 336 Sliders Knob Avenue in Franklin. I have watched the members of this commission be unwilling to control spending, be unwilling to put a debt cap in place, to once again gloss over the annual budget without making the necessary cuts, and now you sit here tonight and put yourself in a position to try and permanently prevent the taxpayers of this county from exploring a valid opportunity to pay off a large portion of our county's massive debt. Surely, on some level, some of you have got to realize that the taxpayers are having a hard time grasping the real possibility of a tax increase, while at the same time watching a majority of you work so hard to prevent the potential sale of one of our county's main assets. I, for one, wish that you would spend as much time trying to come up with ways to reduce the budget and get this county out of debt, and a little less time on how to keep this county in the healthcare business. Commissioner Chalifant wrote an article that was published in this morning's paper. In it, he mentioned why selling the hospital would be a mistake. He gave the example of people losing their jobs and how his life was saved there twice and how his wife's life was saved there once. While I am sure that everyone is grateful for the service offered to Commissioner Chalifant, I think that we can also agree that these are not good examples for calling the sale of the hospital a mistake. If the hospital was sold, the quality of care would not diminish. The new owner is not going to bring in unlicensed doctors and untrained staff. As for jobs being cut, I would submit to you that if a new owner is able to come in and run the hospital as well, if not better, with fewer staff, less benefits, and less salary, then why is Williamson Medical Center not doing that now? Commissioner Chalifant mentions that he has watched the addition of state-of-the-art equipment to this facility and points out to the readers that this was not a taxpayer's expense. I respectfully disagree. If not for the $20 million that the taxpayers gave to Williamson Medical Center, and gave is a very big word here, the state-of-the-art equipment that you are so proud of would be sitting on the side of the road, because it certainly would not be sitting in that lavish new building that sits on the hospital property. I have delivered 3 children at Centennial Medical Center, which is owned by a division of HCA. And in none of those deliveries was I forced to endure subpar care, insufficient staff, or inadequate facilities. In fact, in April of this year, Centennial Medical Center was named one of the nation's 100 top hospitals by Thomas Reuters. Their annual study is unique in that it evaluates hospitals on measures of overall organization performance, including patient care, operational efficiency, and financial stability. This prestigious award means that patients at Centennial Medical Center are more likely to receive reliable, efficient care at a reasonable cost with high satisfaction. St. Thomas and Vanderbilt also made the top 100. Williamson Medical Center did not. The only reason I have heard for not putting the hospital up as surplus property is because jobs will be lost and because of emotional ties that run deep. That is no reason to deny the taxpayers of this county the opportunity to get an unbiased opinion on the sale of this hospital. And one final note to Commissioner Chalfant. My husband's life was also saved by the fine staff at Williamson Medical Center. He would not be here today if that hospital was not located where it is. He was saved just as much by the location of the hospital as the staff that was there at the time. That will not change regardless of who owns the hospital.
Thank you. Next citizen is Bob Washko.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, my name is Robert Washko, and I've been a resident of Williamson County for the last 30-plus years, and I reside at 116 Jackson Lake Drive, Franklin, Tennessee. I speak in opposition to the sale of this hospital. If you were born before 1968, you were born in a nonprofit hospital, or in my case, on my father's farm house. There was no such thing as a for-profit hospital. And what we have now is an opportunity to keep this county in a nonprofit status. What you have with HCA is a for-profit hospital, which in 1997 was raided by the FBI, and they were indicted for Medicare fraud. They pled guilty in the year 2000 with over 12 felonies. They paid $1.7 billion with a B in criminal fines and penalties. I'm not sure of how many companies or corporations could stand that kind of a hit, but they certainly did. I want a hospital where we're not looking to the stockholders. They're not looking for profits for make huge bonuses, which HCA did. HCA was led by Richard Scott, and under his tutelage, that's when they got indicted. Richard Scott is now the governor of Florida, and he's now formed Conservatives Patients' Rights, which is an attempt to block health care reform, which is something I believe we deeply need. So, for those reasons, I want to see that this county continues its right path, and that is a path to provide good health care to all its citizens. I thank you.
Thank you. This concludes citizen communication. Moving on our agenda, have a few communications and messages. Have a couple of late file resolutions. Resolution 61122, which was in your packet, and if I hear no objections, that will be heard. But it's in your packet after Resolution 20, so no objections, we'll hear that. I see none. And then late filed Resolution 61123, likewise, it's late filed, and if there are no objections, it will be heard. I see none, so we will hear those. And then also on the consent agenda, Commissioner Green, are you going to make an amendment on an item there? Yes. So we will pull Resolution 611.3 off the consent agenda and hear that separately. So, any other communications? I see none. We'll move on to reports of county offices. County Mayor Rogers Anderson. Oh, I'm sorry. Still. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners, if I could have Bill Jorgensen to come up. We're going to do a proclamation. We'll drop back one step. This week is Amateur Radio Week. And
I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I'm going to give it to Bill to let him read because this is part of his jurisdiction. He doesn't know that yet. And we'll let Bill read the proclamation to introduce the individual. And at the end of the day, it's a wonderful organization that has been developed here in Williamson County thanks to the hard work of Bill. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a proclamation declaring June 19th through June 25th, 2011 as Amateur Radio Week in Williamson County. Whereas more than 200 federally licensed amateur radio operators who reside in Williamson County are registered members of the Williamson County Amateur Radio Emergency Service, and we refer to them as WCARES. And whereas the members of WCARES have consistently demonstrated their commitment to public service by willingly volunteering their individual time and utilizing their personal radio equipment at no cost for the benefit of the citizens of Williamson County in order to provide a source of reliable radio communications support during natural disasters or other public emergency situations. And whereas, in addition to their regular participation in local emergency communications training exercises, Williamson County amateur radio operators actively participate in an annual nationwide field day communications exercise sponsored by the Amateur Radio Relay League, the National Association for Amateur Radios Operators. And whereas the 2011 field day exercise will take place on June 25th and 26th. Now therefore be it resolved that this Board of Commissioners meeting in regular session this the 13th day of June 2011 hereby proclaim the week of June 19th, 2011 through June 25th, 2011 as Amateur Radio Week. In recognition and appreciation of the continuing public service contributions made by the county amateur radio operators who provide a reliable source of emergency radio communications support and call upon all citizens of Williamson County to join us in this worthy tribute, and this is signed by Jack Walton and Mayor Rogers Anderson. I'd like to introduce Hilton Dean, and he is an assistant emergency coordinator for WCARES and also the field day chairman for this year.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, we want to thank you for this recognition of our organization, and we want to let you know that we renew our commitment to support the Office of Public Safety and all the agencies of Williamson County and be there for the citizens of Williamson County in any time of emergency. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could go ahead while Bill is up here. We were very fortunate in the last several weeks. A week ago Monday, we were able to announce a individual that we're very proud, very honored to have come on our staff by the name of Mac Purdy. Mac will be handling our emergency operations downstairs, and if you would, allow Bill to introduce him and give a little bit more of the details.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Mac, but I need to say a couple things about Mac first. He's a Vanderbilt graduate, and that did come up in the interview a couple times, and the mayor was in those interviews, and it was a little spot of contention there. He's also a veteran from Operation Iraqi Freedom. He's worked for the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency for 13 years, left TEMA as the director of training for the entire state of Tennessee. He's a Williamson Countyan. He has many relationships already developed in this county through living here and working at TEMA. And one of my favorite things about Mac is that he is an Eagle Scout, and that is very near and dear to me, having an Eagle Scout in charge of the Emergency Management Agency in Williamson County. And somebody passed me a note right before I came up here, and they wanted me to say he's just an all-around good guy. Mac?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity, and I'm just honored to be here and be able to serve the citizens of Williamson County, and it's a privilege to come to work here every morning. So as we start our second week, we look forward to continuing to move the emergency management program forward and the challenges that lay ahead, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Well,
Mr. Chairman, finally, let me ask David Coleman, our budget director, to step up and give you a snapshot of the financial picture of Williamson County, and I'll answer any questions that may arise after that. David?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we have our standard reports we presented to you tonight in your packet, and a couple of those were handed out when you got here tonight. We do have the April 30th budget report of the county after 10 months, and everything appears to be in order there. The figures for May just came in late this afternoon, and we'll have those for you next month. But looking at the percentages and the income and expenses at that point, everything looks fine. We do have 2 months report from the Cool Springs Conference Center. The month of April, we received a check of $7,500, and the month of May, we received a check of $4,300 for those 2 months. Then the last report is the privilege tax report, and we do have that through the month of May. It's down just a little bit from last month, but if you look at the chart, it is above the last 2 years, and on the adequate schools facilities tax, it's actually equal to the third year back. So we continue to see a little bit of improvement in the privilege tax, and we just hope that that's a trend that will continue. Mr. Chairman, I'll answer any questions.
any questions for Mr. Coleman?
Budget report?
Sure.
I'd like to have it before next month.
Any other questions? Thank you, David.
Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
Does that conclude your report?
That does.
Yeah, Commissioner Barnwell?
I've got a question. I'd like to commend you all, the P&I committee and yourself, for this Cigna evaluation, going over to them versus associates. And I've got a question. If I understand what I've seen in the budget so far, we're allocating about $10,000 per employee for health care for next year. And if you look at the Cigna bid with how many people were on board last year, it only works out to about $8,500 a year. So I'm curious why in a budget year like this, we're going to use $10,000, because in realistic terms, we're asking for a little over a penny in the general fund. If we used $8,500, we wouldn't need to raise the taxes there. In the school fund, the certified rate is like $1.18. We're asking for $1.28. If we used $8,500, we could wipe 9 cents off that tax increase. I'm just curious, are we going to go back and reassess the budget to reflect the Cigna bid?
Mr. Chairman, what Bob has asked, we went through the Purchase and Insurance Committee. We took bids from, I think it was 15, Bob, that pre-qualified for it. Actually, about 9 turned them in. There was 4 bids identical because they're leasing the network from Cigna. Cigna, Blue Cross, there was someone else. We're pretty much, as you would expect, pretty much in the ball game. Cigna's price, though, really reflected the better discounts that we were able to get from the Cigna network without it being leased out. There was some $8 million difference in the price that we think may arise during the next year. Now, we still have an obligation to pay the tail claims, the paid-out claims at the end of this year when we change on July 1. We also have some claims that, other than just tail, before we make that estimated a reality, we'd like some time to reflect that. The $10,000 cost per head will not be, that's not the final cost basis. That's what Cigna has indicated to us. They can offer the same program that we had last year. The way we arrived at that, Commissioner, we took from 1/1/10 through 12/31/10, and we resubmitted those to all of the participants that made the final round of the RFP, and we said, reprice that product. Reprice it like as if you had it. when you do that product, and there was several $1 million worth of claims, each one of those had the opportunity to come back and said, if we had it during this year with this scenario, this is what we think that our pricing would be. The real savings on the Cigna program was on their administrative side. There'll be some additional savings, but to drill down into the core question, is this a way to avoid a tax increase? The answer last year, if I'm not mistaken, if I can turn over my left shoulder, I think, David, we were charging $9,000 for health insurance, or $95,000. We're currently in this year's budget $1,000. Just give me $10,000, $1,000 increase. So I'm a little reluctant to just arbitrarily say what someone bids on last year's book of business without some heavier guarantees. I do honestly feel, or we would have never made that move because we were with PHCS, which was
Associates.
yes, one of the third-party administrators, so I do feel that we'll have some savings, but I can't stand here and tell you because I don't want to go through what we have gone through the last couple of years, asking for a couple of $1 million after the budget year.
But is it fair to the taxpayers, it sounds like this is a one-time thing that we may have to need extra money based on the consociates numbers, and we're going to give a permanent tax increase for that. How willing will you be next year to say, hey, we need to roll those taxes?
I'll be willing before the end of the year if we get to see some significant savings to adjust the budget. Everything in Williamson County doesn't base itself on the health insurance.
I understand that.
And you're very well aware of that. There's a lot of issues go into that health insurance. There was a few years ago, as you're well aware of, that we had to come back before the county commission. I think it was asked for $4 million, or does that sound right to somebody, for health insurance? And of course, when you've got a population base that's using our health insurance to the tune of about 4,500 people, 3,200, 3,300 are the schools, the rest are intermittently throughout the county government and everything. I don't want to have to come back in here next year and ask for money in the health insurance, Bob.
Well, I understand. Just that to me, we're looking at a 11-cent tax increase that we don't actually need if Cigna can deliver. I mean, I can see moving the health care cost up, but $1,500 per head in this tax year, to me, seems to be extravagant to the taxpayer. I mean,
I think your numbers are off a little bit. I think it's up 1,000. 500 times 4,500 is about what's 10? It's quite
$7.8 million savings.
I think you're off a little bit, but you'll have that opportunity in July. This budget we're submitting to you is a budget that we feel like that on the health insurance side we can make it through next year. Thank goodness Cigna's got some of the discounts that you've heard the discussions here with Vanderbilt. Some of them go to Centennial. They're all over our county. Number one user, the number one health care in this county for discount dollars is Vanderbilt. We'll do all we can, Commissioner.
I understand, but I just think, you're asking to raise taxes, and this to me appears to be a situation where we don't need increased taxes. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all I've got. Next committee report, Dr. Mike Looney, Williamson County Schools.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, good to see you tonight. My report will be real brief. School is out. Construction is on schedule. We have hired all the principals that we need for next school year. We do have one resolution before you tonight, 6114. It is an additional appropriation of state and federal money. No local money is required. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Dr. Looney? I see none. Thank you. On your desk tonight, Dennis Anglin, the property assessor, placed a book on your desk, and he's in the audience if anyone has any questions about the 2011 reappraisal. I know Dennis would be glad to answer those, and if not, we've all got his number and we can call him. Thank you, Dennis. Commissioner Little, you had something you wanted to say.
More of an announcement. As chairman of the courtesy carts, and we have such a good crowd tonight, the courtesy carts provides drivers at the county fair, which is coming up, And we have a sign-up sheet here tonight if anybody is interested in driving at the fair. So come see me. We'd be glad to have all the help we can get. It's a volunteer service that provides a great service for our county fair.
And those carts are air-conditioned, right?
As long as you're driving them fast.
I'd like to also recognize a couple of scouts we have here tonight working on their merit badges. Bradley Watson and Mark Thomas Watson. Y'all, Troop 37, if y'all raise your hands. And welcome, and we're glad you're here. All right, moving on to elections and appointments. The first election and appointment we have is the Independent Audit Committee, and we need to defer this to the end of the night because we haven't established the committee as of yet. So, and I think that's the last item on the agenda. So, it's item 61121. So we'll come back and pick this up after we vote on that committee, if everybody's good with that. Next item is Library Board of Trustees, 3-year term expiring 6/2014. Bill Summers, nomination, Doris McMillan. Hester the second. All in favor? Opposed? Term expiring, Mary Hearing. Nomination, Marcia Franks. Commissioner Hayes the second. All in favor? Opposed? Next appointment, Veteran Services Officer, 2-year term expiring 6/2013. Ken Marshall. All right, all in favor? Opposed? All right, on the consent agenda, and it's my understanding Commissioner Green wants to pull a 611.5, so we'll hear that. So what's left on the consent agenda, I think, is 211 and the notaries. So I'll entertain a motion for that. Proper motion. And Commissioner Herbert the second. The consent agenda is loaded on the board. If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Everyone voted that wishes to vote. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay, Ms. Cook, is she not in? Okay. 23 yes.
Passes unanimously. Then we have Resolution 611.5, a resolution to lower the speed limit along a section of Clovercroft Road in Williamson County. Commissioner Wilson? Commissioner Little the second. Explanation, Commissioner
All right,
Wilson?
this is a resolution to lower the speed limit along the section of Clovercroft Road in Williamson County. And due to heavy traffic that is going through that area on what I call Clovercroft East, and with the opening of a new school, Clovercroft Elementary, we have decided to reduce the speed limit from 40 to 30 miles an hour with an amendment. And shall I do that now, or just?
Well, we've got a second
No.
on the resolution. All right, well, we'll clean it up. I need a motion for this resolution. I thought we did.
Second.
Second. Commissioner Green? Okay. All right. Now, you want to make an amendment?
The amendment is rightfully so. Commissioner Green made this, and I should have caught it myself. We're moving, the amendment is that we will extend it 1/4 of a mile before Tullis Road. Tullis Road is a very bad place to go to. It's very hard to come out on that road to go east or even west. So the sight distance is bad, so we're moving it back 1/4 of a mile.
Proper motion. Do I have a second? Second. Commissioner Brockman on the second. And the amendment's loaded on the board. So if you're in favor of the amendment, Commissioner Green?
Thank you, Commissioner. The reason I made this resolution, and I thought it was an opportunity because we are changing the speed limit, but as you travel westbound on Clovercroft Road, at the bottom of the hill, all you can see is the car top coming out of Tullis Road. And I had the opportunity to call on a constituent out there, and I was trying to make a left turn off Tullis onto Clovercroft. That's a crapshoot trying to get out there in the road because you lose sight of that car westbound at the bottom of that hill. And that's the reason I made the resolution.
Very good.
Or the amendment.
It's loaded on the board. If you're in favor of the amendment, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay, 24 yes.
All right, the amendment passes. Now back to the resolution as amended, 611-5. Any further discussion? I see none. If you're ready to vote, or you ready, Linda? Push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes unanimously. No new business or unfinished business, so move on to appropriations.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner
A lot of people in the audience who are here primarily because of the Williamson County Medical Center, and Resolution 61110 and 61112 are near the end of our agenda. I would move that we move those to the beginning of the appropriations.
Okay, who was second? Commissioner Hancock. In doing so, it's my understanding if we move it from other to appropriations, we'll also have to move to suspend the rules. So is that included in your motion?
Absolutely.
Would that be included in your second? And if there's no objections, we will do that. I see none. So we will move those resolutions up to now, which is 61110 and 61112. We're all on the same page. Resolution 61110, resolution declaring all real and personal property owned by Williamson County or Williamson County Hospital District DBA Williamson Medical Center for which it has the authority to sell as surplus property, and authorizing the mayor to contract with a consultant to assign in the process to sell the surplus property to obtain the highest and best value. Commissioner Barnwell?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Danner, the second. Explanation, Commissioner Barnwell.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would like to start this out. It appears HCA, who I've had communications with, is sort of being vilified here. There was two articles in the paper, one by Mr. Shelfon, one by a fellow named Molyneux, who basically said I had forced HCA, or I had HCA on retainer for this. And I'd like to explain my relationship with HCA. I met somebody over the telephone. When Mr. Mosley gave his opinion out, I sent this individual that opinion and asked him if they had reviewed the 206 law and what impact, does it have an impact on you, referring to purchasing community hospitals. He said they'd never looked at the law, and that's where it was left. Subsequent to that, the HCA went and got a legal opinion and have voluntarily provided that to me, which I have provided to all of you. So I hope we can put that issue to bed. And also for your general knowledge, for all of you here, I've signed a resolution in the past, and I had incomplete information. And when I heard the rest of the story at the county commission meeting, I ended up voting against the resolution I'd actually co-signed. So I hope you take that into consideration. Now, I need to tell you my philosophy of government is that the role of government is to do what the private sector will not or cannot do. The timing is right to redeploy county assets. My core values are education, public safety, quality of life, and reduced government debt. Quality of life is health care, but the owner of the health care organization is not relevant. The taxpayers have nurtured this investment for hospitals for a number of years, and it's time for this to be repaid back to the taxpayers and allow the county commission to reduce the property tax rate. The hospital's never returned a dime to the taxpayers since I've been a commissioner. In fact, contrary to their belief, it costs the taxpayers money every year during this time frame. The taxpayers are paying general debt relative to the hospital on our books. I know it's our books, but we are paying $1.6 million a year to support the hospital. And also, about my understanding, in the following resolution, they're going to talk about how the hospital does such a wonderful job providing the county health department doctors in Franklin and in Fairview. Now, these funds for this the majority are provided by a state grant, which, surprise, surprise, is also the taxpayers. So the taxpayers are supporting this facility. I'm not a big fan of government-owning hospitals. It's not a factor that I like. And everything I've heard during this work I've done is a single standalone hospital is not economically feasible given the current existing healthcare industry. We are in a unique position with our county-owned hospital. It is solvent and attractive acquisition candidate. What happens in the future is anybody's guess. Now, if you recall in February, I made a request to the county mayor to say, okay, the cash balance in the hospital from 07 to 10 had gone from 37 million to 61 million. Now, we are in a little bit of a crunch this year, and I said, well, could you ask the hospital to provide us some funds? We received a letter from the CEO declining the taxpayers' access to the taxpayers' money. And he stated, and I quote, reimbursement rates will continue to receive downward pressure as more people enter the system and increase the demand for service. With the impending uncertainty of the future of healthcare legislation and reform, hospitals around the country are taking steps to protect themselves. To me, that means there's some handwriting on the wall that some of that money is going to disappear, and it's only me and the CEO that understand that. How long will the cash reserve be depleted? Who knows? And then the taxpayers will be required to financially bail out the hospital. Now, there's a lot of legal opinions that have been thrown around here, and a lot of them are based on a 2006 law. Now, the analysis I've done of this law, I'm not a lawyer, but the law was written to address an issue that a county has performed extensive due diligence prior to disposing of their county hospital. It is not intent of the law for the AG to place any portion of the proceeds under unrestricted grants. Several counties I've talked to have sold their hospitals, and I've spoken to the elected officials in these counties and informed me that the Attorney General has not placed any restrictions on the use of these proceeds. The law was written to ensure that counties make sure that the most financial reward was realized from the sale of the county asset, and the proceeds are utilized to benefit all county residents. Sumner County sold their hospital after the 2000 law was enacted. The Attorney General placed no restrictions on the use of these proceeds they received as a result of this sale. In fact, the county executives told me they just placed the proceeds in their general fund as a rainy day fund. Now, during a December meeting, we talked about the value of the hospital. And a common valuation is called EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. If you utilize this, the experts I've talked to told me that this hospital could be sold for a potential of 8 to 10 times EBITDA. Now, that would result in with the cash balance that the hospital currently has, with a total return of about between $230 and $270 million. After paying off the debt, we'd end up with $190 to $230 million. Our general debt, as of 6/30 last year, was $245 million. As you can see, the net proceeds would allow for the general debt to be reduced by 24 to 29 cents based on the requested rate of 30 cents for next year. This is a resolution to declare this hospital surplus. If we feel at the end of the day that the process is not attractive from a financial standpoint, then I would be one of the first to suggest we cancel the process. However, the funds could be realized are taxpayers' money, and it is our responsibility to be good stewards of these funds. Now, for the last 2.5 days, I have been reviewing county commission minutes from September 2002, when I came on this commission, to current time, looking for one thing, and that was a resolution to declare anything at the hospital surplus. This is the first and only resolution I found. And this makes it very troubling to me, because it appears the Board of Trustees may have violated state law. The hospital was deeded to the county in '92, and a resolution was passed, sponsored by then County Commissioner Rogers Anderson, to allow the hospital district to manage the facility on behalf of the county taxpayers, per the audited financial statements. Also, per these statements, the hospital district has sold certain real property in the county-owned hospital. The hospital district has sold 53% of the county hospital surgery center. My understanding of the law, state law indicates to me that county commissioners must declare any county-owned property surplus before bids can be accepted. The resolution agreement that gave the hospital the authority to operate the county hospital specifically states, and I quote, "The Board of Trustees shall not have the power to sell any property owned or operated by the hospital district." To me, they've got a problem. Also, the only property taxes being paid by the surgery center are for personal property. No taxes are being paid for real property, which the surgery center is, because it's attached to the building, and that's real property. And I have a big problem with that. You know, it's our fiduciary duty to look out for the interests of the community. My suggestion to protect the county taxpayers from any future potential liabilities is to declare the hospital surplus to our needs and obtain bids to determine if it is the best interest to sell this facility. The taxpayers are ultimately liable for any losses by the hospital. Based on the way health care delivery is currently progressing, the taxpayers could be asked to bail out the hospital in the future. Now, it's my job as a county commissioner to represent the community's interest and not special interests. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Chairman, thank you for this opportunity to comment on this resolution. Before I do, I must declare an indirect conflict of interest. My relationship to Williamson Medical Center is well known and, in fact, a matter of public record. I trust others will be forthcoming about any direct or indirect conflict they might have. Because I'm an employee of Williamson Medical Center, I may have an indirect conflict of interest in the resolution about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. That's the conflict statement that I will sign and make a matter of public record in the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. And if I may add, there's several commissioners here associated with that, and if we can go ahead and get that out of the way, and because we moved it up, that was my fault. And if everyone's got the paper, and I think we'll just go ahead and read them together. They're all a little different, and we'll sign them and turn them in later. We'll go ahead and start. Because I am a trustee on the board for Williamson Medical Center, I may have an indirect conflict of interest in the resolution about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. Okay. Commissioner Smith?
Chairman, I am certainly opposed to this resolution and urge my fellow commissioners to vote against it. Mr. Chairman, I have a concern about how this resolution was drafted. I know as well as any of us here what the intent of the resolution is. However, the caption reads that we would declare all real and personal property owned by Williamson County or Williamson Medical Center. If you read the caption, all property, real and personal, owned by Williamson County or Williamson Medical Center. Could this be interpreted to make all of our assets, rec centers, parks, schools, our ag park, the hospital, even this building that we're in, subject to sale? Actually, I received an email, several emails from citizens in the last few weeks that suggested just that. You know, over the last 50 years and longer, people smarter than me in these seats have made decisions, like the gentleman that spoke earlier, that they believed would provide a quality of life in this county that our citizens wanted and deserved. It's my belief that the vast majority of our citizens support those efforts. This resolution is not the direction the majority of Williamson Countyans want us to go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you. I truly admire and respect every commissioner on this board. I really do. I like every one of you. But with that said, as I have come to learn which commissioners are on the Board of Trustees, who used to be on the Board of Trustees, who has a wife, father, sister, brother, etc., that was on the board or was or is employed by the hospital, I have come to clearly see that the bias on this commission and on this issue is astonishing. I would hope that the commissioners who have a direct or indirect or even an emotional tie to this hospital can somehow still be able to discern that this vote is not about selling the hospital, but about gathering all the information necessary to make an unbiased vote later. It can be decided later, after the information is obtained, whether or not it is sold or not sold, or sold to a nonprofit or a for-profit. All that decision can be made later at a separate vote after we gather the information. I don't know, and I know other commissioners here have said the same. We don't know if the proceeds can be used to pay down the debt or even how much this asset is worth this year. The only way to get a definitive answer to this is to declare this asset surplus so we can find out. One of my fears is that this bright, shiny car, or gem, or jewel, or juicy peach, as it's all been described, could lose its luster in the near future. With so many unknowns regarding what toll Medicaid, Medicare, possible nationalized health care could take, now is the time to gather that information. We, the taxpayers of this county, are its financial safety net. If this resolution to gather information fails tonight, it will come up again. Maybe in front of this Board of Commissioners, maybe in front of the next. This information the taxpayers want and deserve to know. I pray that we don't look back and wish we had just gathered the information necessary to make an informed, financially responsible decision. This vote will be remembered.
Commissioner Beathard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'd take a little different approach to this. The conflict of interest doesn't bother me. This is a small community. I think everyone in this room has a conflict of interest. If you've ever had health care at this hospital, you've been treated well. It's a wonderful hospital that provides great care to its citizens and should be commended for it. I don't know that it's a great hospital because it's run by us, by local government. I think one could argue that it is a great hospital despite the fact that it's run by local government. At the end of the day, I don't know if selling the hospital is good for the community or bad. And if somebody came to me and said, Commissioner Beathard, I think we absolutely should sell the hospital, or Commissioner Beathard, I think we absolutely should not sell the hospital, I'd have to ask them, how do you know that? Why? Tonight, this resolution, to me, as Kathy Danner has just mentioned, is not to sell the hospital. It is to pursue the matter, to get the facts, to get the bids, to get the quotes, to get the contracts, to get an idea from the Attorney General whether or not we'd be able to use the money at our discretion, to find out if they're going to add services or reduce services, find out if they're going to add employees, reduce employees, find out if they're going to pay the employees the same amount or more than they're paid now. I could go on and on and on. I feel it's a dereliction of my duty if I vote tonight without knowing that information. I guess what I'm saying is, why not vote yes tonight so that we can potentially vote no down the road and do so in a manner that puts the issue to rest once and for all? A prospect that I think anyone on any side of the issue can appreciate, and certainly a prospect that I think those who work at Williamson Medical Center deserve. My wife is a nurse. She happens to work at St. Thomas Hospital. I have more than I cannot over-exaggerate the amount of respect I have for people who work in this industry, particularly those who are nurses and deal directly with the patients. I could never do it. I thank God every day that He puts people on this planet that have a passion for it. It is those people, and some of the best of them work right here at Williamson Medical Center, that make the hospital a great institution, not who owns it. But I might be wrong, and I want to find out. I want to see what the bids will be. I want to see what the visions are. Not just HCA, but St. Thomas and Vanderbilt and the whole host that have shown their desire to give us their visions, their input, their bids. I think it's our fiduciary responsibility to put our emotions aside and vote for what's best for the county after we get those facts. So tonight I'm going to vote yes so that I can vote no later, but I can do so with an arsenal of information that will allow me to draw a complete and clear line to my conclusion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Little?
Thank you. I've had several times tonight been addressed because my brother is the chairman of the board. My wife is an employee. Anyone that has followed the history of this commission has known Russell and I have voted against each other on this commission more than one time. And him being on the board does not affect my vote. My wife is a nurse there. She has also been a nurse for another for-profit facilities. And when she decided she didn't need to handle two jobs at once, and so she quit one. And they said they would be glad to have her back at any time. So her job is not dependent on whether it is a for-profit or not-for-profit, and doesn't affect my vote. What affects my vote is what I hear a lot of on the radio, in the newspapers, talking about how politicians do not listen to their constituents. Washington doesn't listen to what the people want. Since this has come up, I have been out in the community. I have been to my church. I have been to community associations. I've been to ball fields. I have been to schools. And out in the public, when I have asked questions, I have not had one person tell me to sell the hospital. My constituents overwhelmingly have told me to keep it. And so my vote tonight is going to be for my constituents that have asked us to not sell the hospital.
Commissioner Hancock?
Mr. Chairman, respectfully call for the question.
Second. Proper motion second. All in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's see a show of hands of no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that right? 7. So motion passes. Calling the question. So we're ready to vote. 6, 11, 10. If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change your vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
5 yes, 19 no.
Motion failed. Resolution 61112, resolution in opposition of the sale of Williamson Medical Center. Commissioner Langston?
Move approval. Second.
Commissioner Chalfant, you want to address this?
I think it's very simple. The resolution states, resolution in opposition to the sale of Williamson Medical Center. That's all we need to say. And I have 15 co-commissioners or commissioners as co-sponsors of the resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Chalfant. Any other co-sponsors like to address this resolution? Commissioner Hancock?
Very much support this resolution, and when we started looking at this thing, I found so many reasons that we have a great hospital. It's being run excellently. It's in a unique position to make alliances that is going to benefit the citizens of this county for years and years and years. It is amazing to me that the folks is saying all of the negatives are saying, but all that being said, we'd like to buy it.
Any of the other co-sponsors? I'd like to say something. Okay, Commissioner Bain?
I would like to say something. I have been in hospital business for the better part of my career. Most of that time was with HCA, which is a first-class, wonderful organization. There's been a lot of things said, and I've bit my tongue a few times here tonight and other nights. But to have a sale of anything, you have to have two things. You have to have a willing seller, and you have to have a willing buyer. We don't have either at this point. Very much like Commissioner Little, I'm not a shrinking violet, those of you who know me. I'm out in the community. I'm out in the churches, the ball fields, the restaurants, the shopping centers, the grocery stores. This is the only time in 40 years of politics that I have not had one person in my district say we need to sell the hospital. It's been 100% do not sell the hospital. And because of that, I'm going to honor that and go with the people in the 7th District, and I'm going to vote not to sell the hospital.
Thank you, Commissioner Bain. Any other co-sponsor? I see none. Moving on, Commissioner Ford.
I feel like I'm on a little bit of an island here. I don't have a conflict of interest. My life's never been saved by anybody at the hospital. And my kids weren't born there. I wasn't born there. I've never been on the hospital board and don't anticipate I ever will be on the hospital board. I also think that I want to thank Commissioner Barnwell for bringing this up. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss it. And if this resolution had been a resolution that established a study committee, I might have been first one in line to go and let's take a hard look at it. But that's not what the resolution was for. The resolution was for to establish it as surplus property and put it up for sale. And now I hear we can come back and we can vote that down. Well, in my opinion, that's what gets us in trouble. That's what got this commission in trouble all along. This commission is having to look at this because of the debt. How many times have we as commissioners sat at our desk and said, you're not voting to raise taxes now, you're not voting to spend the money now, you're not voting now for this project. You'll get another chance later, and then when that other chance comes later, it's like, well, it's too late. So that is what got us into this problem. This is the right problem to attack. Attacking the debt is the right problem. This is, in my opinion, the wrong solution. And so this is not passed. We're not going to be looking to sell the hospital. And so whenever something like that happens, my question is, what happens next? So what happens next? And what happens next is up to those of us who are on this commission. We're not going to be able to retire debt using this proceeds. We're going to be facing a tax increase. We're going to be faced with additional projects that are coming down, and that's what's coming next. And it's up to us as commissioners to draw the line, to realize that the taxpayers are not a bottomless well, that we cannot just go and continue to raise taxes, that there has to be a stop to those things, and there have to be projects that stop somewhere. Wrong solution, right problem. Thank you, Commissioner Barnwell, for bringing this up.
Commissioner Hester?
I think that Commissioner Ford pretty much said what I intended to say, that the sale of the hospital will not solve our debt situation. And I would like to yield. Thank you.
Commissioner Beathard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My problem with this resolution now is that it's null and void. It's my understanding of it, and those attorneys that I've talked to said that it's now a moot point. When I was elected, many of my fellow commissioners came to me and they said, Brian, one of the unspoken rules around here is that when a resolution's done, it's done. And I remember I liked hearing that. I liked the fact that these fellow commissioners that I respect very much and I see at church and Christmas parties and at the ball field and whose kids my wife babysat. I like that we can argue our points as much as we feel we need to, and then when it's over, it's over. And in so much as one of our own has come up with an idea in a fiscal year in which we've asked and told folks that no idea is off the table, I think to now vote on this particular resolution, which again is null and void, it sends the wrong message. It sends the message that discourages that type of behavior. You can suggest that the idea was ludicrous or that it was a good idea. We should encourage those kinds of ideas, those kinds of efforts. The research and homework that went into it should be commended. We were then able to sit back in these chairs and hit the yes or no button. I worry that if we continue to move forward with this resolution, we will stifle those ideas in the future. So I was told that I could not make a motion to pull it from the agenda, but that one of the 16 can. And I guess I'm asking for one of the 16 to do that so that we can move on, and I, for one, will never bring this up again. If that does not happen, then I plan to abstain on this particular vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wilson?
The one thing that has bothered me about this whole incident is I think what a gentleman in the audience came up and citizens said, and that is the number one political ideology. This issue has been sold as a definite way to pay down debt. Oh, I had someone yesterday say, well, you are going to support the sale, aren't you? Because that will keep us from having a property tax increase. Folks, get real. That is not what this is all about. Yes, we have to have restraints on our budgets, but this issue does not pay down debt. This takes years. This is not a snap of 1 month. We have to come up with a budget by July. This is not the way to do this. I agree with Commissioner Ford. This is not the issue that we need to be addressing. Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
Chairman, I respect the call for question.
Proper motion. Do I have a second? Commissioner Hancock on the second. All in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I mean, we got 2. All right. 3. All right. Calling the question passes. If you're ready to vote, 6, 11, 12, push your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
18 yes, 3 abstain, 3 no.
Resolution passes. Do you think we ought to take a break?
You're asking me. Yes,
Yeah,
the recess is in order.
I think we'll take about a 10-minute recess. Thank you. If all the commissioners would take their seat.
Start reading. Start reading.
Yeah. All right, we'll come back to order.
Nobody's
All right, we're on Resolution 611-2. Resolution appropriating and amending the 2010-11 Parks and Recreation budget by $5,000, revenues to come from donations. Commissioner Ford, and Commissioner Little, and Commissioner Dwight Jones. Explanation, Commissioner Little.
Yes, this is a donation from the Williamson County, from Tennessee Football Club for maintenance of the soccer fields.
Any questions to the maker? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. 23 yes. Resolution passes. Resolution 611-3, resolution appropriating and amending the 2010-11 Parks and Recreation budget by $700, revenues to come from donations. Commissioner
Move for
Little.
approval.
Commissioner Green, the second. Explanation, Commissioner Little.
Again, this is like the first one. This is donations for special events.
Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Commissioner Beathard.
Oh, Commissioner Beathard.
You want to vote?
There we go. I need to move my cup.
23 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 611-4, resolution appropriating in the 2010-11 general purpose school budget $27,436 additional federal funds for personnel expenditures for the board's adult education program. Commissioner Brockman?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Williams, the second. Explanation, Commissioner Brockman.
Yes, this is a grant for adult education program to administer it, and it passed education 7 yes, 0 no.
Okay. School board was 12 yes, 0 no. Budget committee?
Budget committee was 5-4, 0 against.
All right. We're ready to vote? All in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 611-9, resolution appropriating and amending the 2010-11 County Commission tax relief for the elderly budget by $100,000, revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds. Commissioner Ricky Jones.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Wilson, the second. Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
We've had several more people sign up for this, which we're glad for, and we need to fund this where they've come in and asked for this relief.
Okay, and tax study committee was?
4-0 against.
Budget committee?
Budget committee was 5-4, 0 against.
Any questions for the maker? I see none. You ready? Oh, Commissioner Hayes?
Say that I have invited Trustee Joey Davis to be at our July meeting to give us an update of all the tax relief programs and give us, and he will be mailing us information on what to do to tell our constituents about signing up and applying for them.
Thank you. Ready to vote? All in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Passes. Resolution 61114, resolution appropriating and amending the 2010-11 solid waste sanitation budget by $17,140 for expenses related to the Living Green Expo revenue to come from rentals and sponsorship. Commissioner Hayes?
Second.
Commissioner Jones, the second. Did it go before the Municipal Solid Waste Board?
Yes, it did, 5-4-0 against.
All right. Budget Committee?
Budget Committee, 5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hayes?
This will be our third year to have our Living Green Expo put on by Keep Williamson Beautiful. The last 2 years, we've filled up the house at the factory, thanks to Mr. Lehue. We've had great success and many thousands of people who've come through to see the sponsors who have been living green and who are promoting living green. We've had various seminars and programs. We've outgrown the factory, so we're going to be at the Ag Expo Park in the last Saturday of August, and this Living Green Expo will attract, I think, many more people. There's going to be kids areas. There are going to be all kinds of exciting things with Living Green. The seeking and the receiving here were donations and sponsorships that were received for people who are vendors who are coming to put on the show. So this is not tax dollars. These are people who have bought sponsorships and who are vendors for our Living Green Expo. So it will be used to put on the show.
Thank you, Commissioner Hayes. Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of Resolution 61114, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Commissioner Hancock, did you? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right. Anyone wishing to change the vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Passes unanimously. Resolution 61115, resolution authorizing the county mayor to enter into a contractual agreement for the provision of dental services at the Williamson County Health Department in an amount not to exceed $138,000. Commissioner Hancock?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Wilson, the second. Budget Committee report.
Budget Committee, 5-4-0 against.
Public Health Committee.
7-4-0 against.
All right. Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
This is just reimbursement money for the health department, so that I think this is for services that's already been rendered, so it will be put back in the budget.
Right. Any questions? Commissioner Williams?
Whether or not this is a recurring figure every year?
I think it is. I'm not real sure about the dollar amount, but I think it will be coming every year. Mayor Anderson.
Thank you.
Ms. Bromley, would you like to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and County Commissioners. There is a contract between the Tennessee Department of Health and Williamson County government, and this is the contract for the next fiscal year. What happens is the county government hires the dentist and the dental assistant, and because we are the ones that collect the money from the patient and it's deposited to the state of Tennessee, whatever funds are collected for services rendered are then go to the state. The state then reimburses the county whatever funds are collected from the patients. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a reimbursement for, the county funds the program, but instead of the state keeping the money that they make, they give it back to the county. And it is reoccurring. The same type of situation that we have with the physician at Williamson Medical Center.
But the dollar amount could be different, couldn't it? I mean,
The dollar amount that the county receives in return is what the dentist generates by the fees, which depending on all of our fees slide based on family size and income. So, and the majority of our patients are uninsured, so it's not always that entire amount. It's only what the state actually collects from the services. Any other questions?
We good? Thank you. If you're in favor of Resolution 61115, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 61118, resolution appropriating and amending the 2010-11 Circuit Court Clerk's budget by $4,000. Revenues to come from reserve account. Commissioner Green?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee?
Budget Committee 540 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Green?
Yes, this is, the county circuit court clerk needs some video equipment to cut down on the amount of, to connect with a state prison to reduce the travel time for court appearances by the inmates. The money's letting it come from filing fees that they collect.
Yeah, Commissioner Williams?
I'd just like to say that obviously being involved in the court system, it's utilized now and it is very effective because everybody that's in jail that have to be for arraignments or whatever, they do it from the jail and through the cameras and the videos, and they don't have to be transporting them back and forth, not just the cost, but safety-wise and everything else.
Sounds like a good idea. Any other questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of 61118, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change the vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 61119, resolution amending the 2010-11 Highway Department and capital project budgets to appropriate up to $650,000 for highway equipment purchases, revenues to come from unappropriated highway fund balance. Commissioner Green?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Hancock, the second. Highway Commission was 5-4, 0 against. Budget Committee?
Budget Committee is 5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Green.
This is the need to purchase various equipment for the highway department. And it's, when they prepared their 5-year capital improvement plan, there was, this equipment was included. And I believe the handout that we received on our desk lists that equipment. It was on your desk when you came in, list the equipment that they're talking about. They'll go out to bids on state contracts on this equipment, and it's needed to replace used, worn out, tired equipment.
Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? Oh, Commissioner Danner?
How much is left in the unappropriated highway fund balance after this?
Mr. Coleman? Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ready to vote? Resolution 61119. Push the yes button if you're in favor. Your no button if you're opposed. If you want to change the vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 61120, resolution amending the 2010-11 Highway Department budget and appropriating up to $150,000 for replenishment of road salt. Revenues to come from unappropriated highway fund balance. Commissioner Green?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Hancock, the second. Highway Commission, 5-4, 0 against. Budget Committee?
Budget Committee, 5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Green.
If you can remember last year when the snows came and came and came again, we ran out of salt, and we had to make and back a lot of people in counties in Williamson, other than Williamson County within Mid-State also ran out of salt, and it became a valuable item. This is to resupply that salt that we need, and I think now's an opportune time to do that. And I understand it's going to be Martin salt again.
Very good. Yeah, there's probably not a line on getting today. Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? Push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 61122, resolution appropriating and amending the 2010-11 medical examiner's budget by $19,600. Revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds. Commissioner Hancock.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Cook, the second. Budget Committee.
Budget Committee, 5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the medical examiner's budget was funded based on 44 cases, and this year they went up significantly. They're asking for enough to do. They've experienced 51 already, so they need additional money, and it won't be spent unless people pass away.
Mr. Coleman.
This is not one we want to make light of. But, Mr. Chairman, when we put this resolution together, we were basing on estimates, Commissioner Hancock, and we got the bill in last month, and we experienced 8 autopsies, which is very high in 1 month. And so I am going to ask if you could amend this by 1 autopsy, which would raise the total to $21,000. That would be $11,250 for the autopsies and $9,750 for medical supplies.
Okay. Would someone like to make that a motion? Commissioner Little on the motion, Commissioner Cook on the second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank you. Linda, is amendment on the board?
Just 1 second.
Okay. The amendment's loaded on the board, so if you're in favor of the amendment, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
All right, the amendment passes. So we're back to the main resolution, 61122, as amended. Any questions on that as amended? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes as amended. Resolution 61123, resolution appropriating and amending the 2010-11 property assessor's budget by $3,000, revenues to come from undesignated fund balance. Commissioner Green?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee?
Budget Committee, 5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Green?
Yes, after the 5-year property reappraisal, the Board of Equalization meetings has exceeded the monies that we had previously appropriated, and this is to make up for that difference and give them the compensation that they, for the equalization members who attended those meetings.
Any questions to Commissioner Green? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor, 61123? Push the yes button. If you're opposed, push the no button. Anyone wishing to change your vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes. The next resolution, we're required to have a public hearing for Resolution 6111, which is a resolution adopting a plan for the creation and use of an internet forum for the Williamson County Board of Commissioners. So I'll open the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this resolution, please come forward and state your name and address. Last call. Public hearing's closed. Back to the resolution. Again, resolution adopting a plan for the creation and use of an internet forum for the Williamson County Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Bethard.
Move for approval.
Second.
Proper motion. Commissioner Bethard was the second.
Commissioner.
Oh, Ryan. Oh. I get y'all confused all the time. Need to separate you. Library Board of Trustees, Commissioner Barnwell.
4-0 against.
All right. Rules Committee,
4 in favor, 2 against.
Budget Committee,
Budget Committee, 5-4, 0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Beathard.
Yeah, basically, this stems from a state law that allows any local governing body to establish an online forum in which two fellow elected officials can communicate with one another in full view of the general public, thereby being able to communicate in such a way that does not violate the Sunshine Law. I would, Mr. Chairman, if I'm able to make a motion to amend this resolution, my neighbor and good friend to my left here, Commissioner Langston, had an idea that I wish I had put in here from the beginning, which is to sunset this resolution so that in a year's time we reevaluate it to see that if it has been a positive tool, we can keep it, but if it has not been useful or somehow been negative in any way, we can remove it at that time.
Okay, proper motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Langston on the second. So your amendment is for Sunshine Law. Now we'll
To sunset the Sunshine Law.
I got to get this straight. So, what he said, will we revisit it automatically?
We would amend the resolution so that in a year's time, we would revisit to see if it's been a useful tool or in some way not been useful, and if at that time we'd like to remove it from, it's not in rules, so we wouldn't be removing it from rules, but remove the online forum from the website, we could do so at that time.
Okay. Commissioner Dwight Jones?
Is there any cost to the county on this? I mean,
Zero.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Barnwell?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. If you remember a couple of years ago, we passed a resolution in this body to basically say we wanted the ethics and the sunset to be withdrawn, which we passed and went out downtown. I'm hearing from counties all over the state that there may be a concerted effort in the next legislative session to put us under the same rules as the state legislative bodies, which they don't have a sunset law problem. And so we're going to try to get a bunch of counties to send in, or Sunshine, excuse me. We're going to try to get a bunch of counties to contact their legislatures and pass resolutions to repeal our sunset laws, or sunshine laws.
Sunshine.
So, that 1 year more, or 1 year sunset, got it right that time, would probably be appropriate.
Commissioner Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can speak as a freshman myself. I think this is a tool that will be very useful for myself. Many times, certainly as freshmen, we don't have the base of the knowledge and wisdom that the rest of these members do here. It'll personally be helpful to me to be able to log on to this forum, to be able to interact with the other county commissioners, to be able to ask questions and knowing full well that we're not in violation of any sunshine laws. And so I support this, and I thank Commissioner Beathard for bringing this to a vote.
Commissioner Langston?
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate Commissioner Beathard taking this approach. I think what we do should be always in the interest of good government, and I think something like this may be in the interest of good government, but it may not be. And then by sunsetting this within a year, it allows us to look at it and see how it's been used, looked at, and then evaluate it if we want to keep it. I will support this.
Commissioner Herbert?
I guess I have a question. You say there wasn't a cost. Well, if you've got to have a computer in the library and personnel, isn't that a cost?
Actually, the computers in the library already exist. There's some 24 computers that are there for users to come in and go online who don't have internet at home or wish to use the library for that source. What is in the amendment that gets a little confusing is that there will have to be a computer for someone to come in and go onto our site. What the library discussed and decided was that any one of those 24 computers will be there for that purpose. The other computer that will be here at the complex is going to be utilized from one of many they have sitting on a shelf currently they will plug it in and utilize it in case someone should come to the complex wishing to go online to view our statements.
What about the personnel to maintenance it?
The IT department will monitor the system. I don't know if we still have someone here from IT. They may have left. There was going to be someone who could maybe speak to that. If you want to come up and say a few words of how that will work.
The content management system that we use to manage all the website now had this included in it. We've been using it for several years. We just haven't activated it. So there's really no additional cost, and this will just be part of the webmaster's function.
Follow up, Commissioner Herbert.
Oh, that's all?
Okay. Commissioner Ford?
Mr. Chairman, first point of order. I believe we're discussing the main resolution under the amendment.
You're correct.
Yeah, and so I'd ask that we talk about the amendment. And a question on the amendment. I understand that this is being sunset in a year, but I also understand that the comments that are made on this by law are required to stay up for a year. So I'm curious about how we would manage that conflict. Would it be that after a year, no additional comments can be made, but the others will stay up for that period of time, or have I misunderstood?
Yeah. Attorney Cook?
Bobby, did I say that clearly? Did I ask the question clearly? I didn't sound right in my head as I was asking this one.
No, Mr. Chairman, the question was fine. And you're correct. What will happen is if you do sunset this, it goes away in a year. You still got to have that information up there for a year at the termination.
Okay, so the information would stay available for the public to see for a year after it's put out there, but no additional could be added to it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Williams, do you have on the amendment?
Well, it really goes to both. It has to do with sort of what Commissioner Ford was talking about. It's my understanding that not only one county in the state has utilized this, and that is in Knox County, and that was a pilot program. So there's really no footprints out there to follow. And as I understand how this is going to work, if I were having a conversation with Commissioner Ford about the sale of Williamson County Hospital, then all of a sudden we get embedded with all these comments from the outside world, and there's really no response or no communication other than just between Commissioner Ford and I. That's the way I understand.
Right. Yeah, it was my understanding the general public cannot comment on it.
They can comment on it.
They cannot.
They cannot comment.
Yeah.
They can just observe it.
Right.
They can email you later. Or check out your Facebook.
Yeah.
They can check out mine. There was nothing there. So I don't have a problem. I try to limit myself as much as possible. Okay, that answered that question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brockman,
My
on the
comment is
amendment?
not to the amendment.
If you may, we'll get back to you. And any other comments on the amendment? I see none, and it's loaded, Linda. So you ready to vote? We'll vote on the amendment. All in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change the vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 2 no.
All right, the amendment passes. Now back to the main motion. Commissioner Brockman, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. I was one of the commissioners who voted against this in I believe it was the Rules Committee, and my reasoning was this. I'm a little concerned about this being used sort of as a political tool, people who are coming on and have an agenda to sort of read comments made between commissioners, and let's say I respond and I write 5 sentences, but suddenly only one of the sentences sort of gets pulled out about an issue, and then I feel like I've sort of been, what's the word, ambushed. And so, I just feel I'm I'm concerned about it, and I know that the intent is to share information and to be transparent about our views on issues before we come to a committee. But I guess I just feel like it's a little bit of a slippery slope. People can contact us, as public, through email or phone call, and it's mainly your constituents. But I just sort of feel like somehow this sort of sets us up in a way that could be difficult and might cause actually dissension. I think that our dialogue in public is very important, and civil discourse always reigns here, and that's something I really respect. But I'm just reluctant to support it for that reason.
Commissioner Langston?
I raised that same objection in some of our committee meetings, and I hope that it and feel like it will not be used for some of those purposes. One of the things that I hope would happen with this, it gives us a year to look at it, and if things like that happen, then we can always go back and change it. So I will support it simply because of the ability to take care of the issues if it's not used as it should be within that year's period of time.
All right. Commissioner Hawkins?
Well, having been on the other side of this as in the media, having worked at the Tennessee Inn and at Gannett, it's interesting to be in this role and to have been a little frustrated by the Sunshine Law. It's, to try to get up to speed and knowledgeable on some of the topics is difficult, and there's institutional knowledge in the commission that some of the newer members don't have. I understand the concerns about this. I think the first thing I would say to Commissioner Brockman's concern is that I don't reckon you have to get on there and say anything if you don't want to, right? So that's the first, and we're always being misquoted. So that's just occupational hazard. So I say the more dialogue, the better, which is why I get frustrated when we call the question in here. I'll stay here all night if we need to discuss it. So that's why I think this is a great thing, and if it doesn't work out, we can always change our minds next year, and I appreciate Commissioner Beathard's resolution.
Commissioner Green?
Yeah, I have a question, because some commissioners do not have the Williamson TN-org address. We use our own home addresses. I use Gmail. Does this have to go through the williamson10.org to be recorded?
No, Commissioner, it doesn't. It will have to be on these will just be posted on the website. And you can post your replies to something another commissioner says, and nobody but the commissioners can post on there is the way we're setting it up.
What I was saying is if I send an email to Commissioner Williams and question on this Sunshine business, and I don't have a williamson10.org email address.
No, the way we're setting it up is it's totally independent of your email.
Okay.
You'll have to log in individually. You'll have individual passwords and a user ID, but it's not related to the email.
Okay.
Commissioner Danner?
Just one clarification, because you were not at the rules meeting probably, but not only the public can see it, you don't it's completely voluntary, and so if you vote against it, it deprives those of us who want it of not having this tool. I just wanted to say that.
Follow up? All right. Are we ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 611-1 as amended, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
19 yes, 5 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 611-6, resolution authorizing the county mayor to execute a contract between the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation and Williamson County for a trash collecting grant for fiscal year 2011-2012. Commissioner Langston?
Move approval.
Commissioner Cook, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
5-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee? Explanation, Commissioner Langston.
Yes, this is a grant that we received from the Sheriff's Litter Patrol and Pickup, and it's already included in the budget, and I would hope you will approve this, please.
Any questions? If I see no questions, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of 611-6, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 611-8, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Fairview for the provision of fire and emergency services. Commissioner Langston, Commissioner Jones.
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Dwight Jones, the motion. Commissioner Langston, the second. Explanation?
I defer to Commissioner Jones, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Law Enforcement Committee?
5-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee?
Budget Committee, 5-4, 0 against.
Now, Commissioner Langston, you going to defer to Commissioner Jones?
Yes, please.
This is just an agreement between the county and the city of Fairview to provide fire and emergency services within the county part of basically the first district. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 90-something square miles. Just ask for your support.
All right. Any questions? I need someone to make an amendment for us. On the first page of the agreement, under Article 3, it goes over there and refers to Williamson County Fire and Rescue District 15. That actually should be District 31. So I would entertain a motion to change that.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Little, Commissioner Jones, the second. Any discussion on the amendment? So it's on the board. If you're ready to vote, push the yes button if you're in favor of the amendment. No button if you're opposed. Anyone wishing to change their vote? Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
All right, back to the resolution as amended. Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of 611-8 as amended, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 611-13, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a consent to assignment of lease agreement. Commissioner Hayes. Proper motion. Commissioner Cook, the second. Solid Waste Board. Property Committee. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hancock. Budget Committee.
Budget Committee, 5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hayes.
Yes, we operate the materials recovery facility, or have that in with our recycling program. It has been operated by Advanced Disposal Recycling Services. They have requested that the current lease agreement be assigned to BFI Services, Waste Services. They are both here tonight. Mr. Chairman, may I ask them to stand, please?
Please do.
Would y'all stand, please, and identify yourselves?
I'm Pancho James, Summerall Recycling, formerly Advanced Disposal with Norfolk since then. Still under Vice President of Recycling for Advanced Disposal.
Advanced in Summerall, all right.
Rodney Cullen, the General Manager of Allied Waste Services on DFI Waste Services LLC, and a resident of this plant.
Thank you.
Very good. Y'all picked a good night to come.
And The agreement, the Solid Waste Board has unanimously approved this. They've agreed to all the conditions that were set forth before, and everything looks good to our county attorney, and we recommend it.
Very good. Any questions for the maker? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of Resolution 61113, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 61116, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Fairview for the provision of a health care clinic. Commissioner Hancock?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Jones, the second. Ricky Jones. Public Health Committee?
7 in favor of, 0 against.
Budget Committee?
Budget Committee 5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
Mr. Chairman, this is pretty straightforward. It just allows the mayor to negotiate an interlocal agreement so that the health care clinic in Fairview can use it. I think it's property that county already owns.
Right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of 61116, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Oh, okay. And Diane just pointed out a copy of the agreement was placed at your desk tonight, so. The resolution passes. Resolution 61117, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. Commissioner Green?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Little, the second. Highway Commission, 5-4, 0 against. Property Committee?
7 for, 0 against.
Budget Committee?
Budget Committee 5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Green.
Yeah, this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with the state of Tennessee on emissions, which we're conducting, and as all of us realize, we have to have our cars emission checked every year. This is to renew that contract, and as you can see down there in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th whereas, cost is $10 and the county gets 25 cents.
What a
A bargain.
Yeah. Any questions? Every little bit helps.
I don't think we can. I didn't attend the test they had out here this week, I believe, with the new system they have, where you can, once you get past that test twice and you're within the renewal area, they'll send you a letter that you passed your emissions. You don't have to go by the emissions testing place. You still have to pay the $10.
Of course you do.
But you get a quarter.
Ready to vote? Resolution 61117. If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 61121, resolution to establish an independent audit committee for Williamson County, Tennessee. Commissioner Green?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Hester, the second. Audit committee? I don't even know who's on that.
3-4, 0 against.
All right. Budget committee?
5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Green.
What this is the state of Tennessee has encouraging the county governments to establish an independent audit committee, as we presently are made up now of various commissioners are on that committee at this present time, and they would like to see a independent group solely in charge of the audit, where we do not have kind of a second vote or vested interest type thing, but because we are commissioners. They're asking us to do that, and the discussion we had And I don't see anything in this that abolishes the present audit committee, but this would be an independent audit committee, which could report to the audit committee, and they could report to the commissioners as to the results of that audit. So they just want an independent group, an independent audit committee made up of independent people, citizens of the county.
Very good. Any questions? Commissioner Williams?
What's the cost? Do we pay these, they do an actual audit?
Yes.
And so are they going to get paid?
Yes.
And what is the?
I know they're going to get paid, but I don't know the exact cost.
Commissioner Coleman? I mean, David
I think
Coleman?
I think it's $75.
I just demoted you. Yes, it is.
No, sir, little clarification. This body would not perform the audit. They would review the audit done by the state of Tennessee. And this is some new regulations that have come down from the state, and we're just trying to comply with that. And we do have some names that will come forward to you in just a moment. But they would just review the audit, and one of their requirements is they do have to give you, this body, a written report once a year.
Are they getting paid?
I believe we haven't established that, but most of our other committees, like the Highway Commission, gets $75 per meeting, and so we probably established the same amount.
Okay. Follow-up, Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was curious about how this committee interacts with the state audit that we get. They would get, so the state audit group would still come in and do the audit, correct? And then this group, and we get a copy of that audit. This independent audit committee would also get a copy of that?
Correct. They would get a copy of the audit, and they would review it. Really just, we have an audit committee now that rarely meets, but this would give them a function that they would do. It's going to be made up of people that have primarily financial backgrounds, and then they would report to you on any findings or anything they see in the audit that might need attention. But of course, that would just be strictly independent reporting to you. They'd have no power to make any decisions. They would just pass that on to you.
It seems like the committee of redundancy committee to me is what it feels like. And so they don't have any power to make any changes inside the government?
No,
It's
sir.
strictly to look and interpret the audit?
Correct. They review the audit and then write a report to you of any recommendations that they make. If they see findings that are being repeated after each year and they're not being taken care of, they report that to you, but they would have no power to take any action.
Okay, I don't get it. The other question I had, it said that they can't be an elected official, employee, spouse, and all that's to remove any type of financial conflict of interest here. Is there any restriction that those people can't be a member of any of the nonprofits that receive money from the county?
No, sir. To my knowledge, that's not a restriction, and those restrictions were actually written in there by our county attorney.
Okay.
But to my knowledge, those others would not be restricted.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Danner?
So this is a state mandate?
Yes, ma'am.
To have this extra layer? So why do we vote on it? Just to bless it? 'Cause it's,
Well, you have to establish it as a committee. If this body doesn't establish it, it doesn't exist.
but it's state mandated, so it's going to exist anyway.
It's not mandated in the sense that we already have an audit committee, but this separates it out and makes it independent from county commissioners. I mean, if you chose not to do it and keep the audit committee you've got now, you could certainly do that, but you wouldn't have that arm's length independence that this committee would have.
So it's either have an audit committee of commissioners or these independent people?
Correct.
Either or, okay.
But
No.
Yeah, both.
We're having both.
you can have both, or if you, that's your choice. I mean, as the chairman mentioned a moment ago, or someone, I forget who mentioned that I think it was Lou, the decision was not made the other day to do away with the current audit committee. They felt like maybe keeping it as a avenue for this committee to work through, but you could combine it into one committee. This came about by you know, when things happen statewide, we all kind of have to march together. But this came about by certain counties were not following the GASB, that is Governmental Accounting Standards, when they did their financial statements. And so the state says if you don't follow those guidelines, you must have an audit committee. Well, we were already following those, we always do. The second thing was if you were having findings in your county and you were not taking care of those and they were being repeated every year, you must have an audit committee. We've always taken care of those. We've never had a problem with that. So it's really us taking the audit committee we had and trying to get in compliance with what the state's outlining as this independent audit committee.
Any further discussion? You ready to vote? All in favor of 61121, push yes button. Opposed, your no button. Commissioner Hester?
I just wanted to say something after this resolution is.
Oh, okay. Anyone wishing to change their vote? Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 1 no.
1 no. Resolution passes. Now we need to go back to elections and appointments that we deferred earlier. For the Independent Audit Committee, it's a 3-year term, 3-year terms upon expiration. So we have one term expires in June of 2012, and that nomination is Patty Parsons. Commissioner Hester, the motion. Commissioner Cook, the second. All in favor of Patty Parsons, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Then we have a 2-year term expiring 6 of 2013, and that's Carrie Perkinson. Commissioner Langston, Commissioner Davis the second. All in favor of Carrie Perkinson, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. 3-year term expiring of June of 2014, Paul Boland, the nomination. Commissioner Wilson and Commissioner Little is the second. All in favor of Paul Boland? Yes.
Okay. I think if we're supposed to be an independent thing, the hospital is a component unit of the county government. So I don't see how that can be he could be considered an independent member of this committee.
Go ahead.
We looked at that issue, and he's not an employee of the county. He is an employee of a separate governmental entity, and while they do consolidate, he is not considered an interested individual within the meaning of that definition as recommended by CTAS. So he is outside the definition, which is where we drew that from.
Follow up, Commissioner Barnwell?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. All in favor of Paul Boland, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
I'll vote no.
23 yes, 1 no. And Commissioner Hester, do you have a comment?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. I have been remiss, but we have passed when we passed the consent agenda, we did pass a situation about naming a particular area off of Sweeney Hollow Road for the Finnegan family, most especially for the late Mr. John Finnegan. And Mrs. Claudia Finnegan is here tonight, and her son, Mr. Finnegan. I just wanted to say that Mr. John Finnegan was a very active volunteer in our community, and especially in the Leapers Fork area. So there is no cost to the county on this naming, and it's just a courtesy to the United States Geological Survey in naming this particular site. The Finnegan family does own this hill, so I I just want to recognize Mr. Finnegan's service to the committee, to the community, and I appreciate the Finnegans coming tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Hester. Would y'all like to say something?
I'm Claudia Finnegan. I'm John Finnegan's wife, and I wanted to thank Ms. Hester for facilitating this for us. The National Geological Survey did a 5-month preparation for this, and it's to honor my husband who passed away 5 years ago, and that is their requirement, that in order to have a feature named after someone, that must be already deceased. You can't name a feature after a living person. So I did do their procedure and honored him. Hope that this will be a living tribute to him and his life. So I thank all of you for your endorsement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hayes?
If I might leave the night with a happy note, I'm sure if any of you tried to get through Nashville or Franklin in the last few days, you know that tourism does pay. And we've had such a good turn of the tourism. I just wanted to say that within the last 2 weeks, just inquiries at our small visitor center last week was up 151%, and this last week 106%. These were people who came in for the reopening of the Franklin Theater, for the Lance Armstrong bike run, for the cancer run, for the CMA festival, and even some stopping here on the way to Bonnaroo. So we really did capture some money. We put some heads in the beds and some dollars in our pockets. So,
Amen.
So we're very thankful for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hayes. Commissioner Bethard?
Just real quick, I want to let everybody know about an event that is coming up this weekend for Father's Day. If you have children of any age, and Ms. Wilson is a sponsor, I appreciate that. And Russ Little, myself, we're putting this together with a slew of other people with Franklin tomorrow. It's called the Prince and Princess Ball, and it's a true ball. There'll be an orchestra, wear a tuxedo, get the girls dressed up in their outfits. Divas and dudes will be there to do the hair and makeup for all the little girls. Plenty of food, and you can go on the Franklin Tomorrow website to buy tickets. And if you know of anyone who you think would enjoy that evening, I'd appreciate you letting them know about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Little?
Just a reminder, if anyone is interested in the county fair coming up, to see me over here. It looks like everybody out there left. They said to plug that we had our first grandchild yesterday, so I've also got pictures if anybody's interested. But no, fair carts, we need volunteers to sign up, and it's a great, probably maybe one of the most rewarding jobs at the fair. It's not the coolest job, but if anyone has a few hours to spare or would like to sign up, we've got it here.
Very good. Make sure you ask Tommy to show you a picture. He'd gladly do that. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you all.